Hello everybody, this is Kosatsakas and welcome to your 20th tutorial in Photoshop. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about actions. And as you can see over here at the side, I have opened the Actions tab. To do that, just go in Window and select Actions, and that's just going to do it for you. Now, what is an action? That's the main question. Well, an action is a saved set of history steps that you can reproduce on an image. So if you have actually done some editing on an image, you can actually save this editing as an action and you can reproduce it on another image, and it saves you a lot of time. So let's just try to do that. And over here you can see some default actions that actually come with Photoshop. So that's the way your actions panels will look like. And if you select one of the actions, and you click the play button, it's just gonna reproduce all of the steps that it has onto this image, and it's just gonna create this sepia result. Now, if we go in history, you can see all of the steps that were actually reproduced onto the image. So that's the idea behind an action. Now, up here on the top, you see the action set, and this is actually a folder that holds many actions. And if you just click on the arrow next to an action, you can see the operations that it has. So that's basically the steps it takes while editing the image. And let's just go ahead and try and create our own action. So I'm just going to go to the next image. And first we're going to create an action set. It's this little folder icon down at the bottom. You just have to click on it. Let's just give our action set a name, iActions maybe. And then let's just create our own action. And to do that, you have to click this little icon over here at the bottom, which is next to the trash icon, and it says create new action, I think. Now if we click on it, we just have to give our action a name, and I'm just going to name it black and white. And what we have to do now is, as you can see right down here, we get this red icon, and that basically means that the actions panel is recording. So whatever actions we take, whatever we do to the image, is actually gonna be saved in the actions panel. So if we go on image, the first thing we want to do is change the levels a little bit. Let's just change them. Let's just click OK. And then image adjustments, I want to increase the contrast to maximum. Click OK. Image adjustments, I'm going to desaturate the image. That's just going to turn it black and white. And then image canvas size, that's the final thing I'm going to do to the image. And as you can see, I have selected this relative option. I haven't talked about this in the previous tutorial, so I thought it was a good chance. And basically what that's going to do is whatever size you set the canvas to have, it's actually going to be relative to the current size of the image. So if I just go on inches over here, I'm sorry for that, and select 0.5 inches, what's going to happen is the image size is going to increase by 0.5 inches relative to its current size. So if I click OK, you see we get this black border around the image. And the final thing you want to do is actually go ahead and save the image. And remember to click on File and Save As, because that's going to be important in a little bit. So let's just go ahead and Save As. And let's just save it as a different file on Pictures. Yeah. Let's just click Save. And the options, click OK. And as you can see, the save option was also recorded by the actions panel. Now if we want to stop recording, we have to click this button, the first button down here, and that's the stop button. If we just click on it, as you can see, we created our very own action. And let's just try and run this. It's called the black and white action. In order to run it, we just have to go to another image, select our action, and click play. And as you can see, it went through all the steps, saved the image, and it saved it to the location that we saved the previous image in. So remember that, keep that in mind. And if we go in history, you can see all the steps that we took. Now the final thing I want to show you is, let's just go back to our history, to where we opened the image over here. And what we're going to do is basically we're going to run this action, but we're actually going to have a new option on. And let's just first talk a little bit about those ticks over here. That basically means if you just uncheck a tick, that this operation is not going to take place. And we want that, so let's just not do it. And you get this second box over here, and as you can see, if you select it, it looks like a dialog box. So what that means is that whenever you run the action, the dialog box of that operation is going to pop up, and the user will have to put the input in. So let's just try running it and see the difference right now. So as you can see, I got this levels panel over here, and I'm going to set the levels. And that's really important because in most images you want to set the levels on your own just because each one of them is unique. So let's just click OK. And as you can see, it goes through all of the other steps just as it did before. And we got this final result. It looks much better, I think, than the previous one. And let's just, and that was basically it for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is this menu over here at the side. And as we said, every tab has its own menu. Now, the first option is just another way to view the actions panel, just as buttons. And you can click on one of them in order to play this action. I'm going to deselect that. Here you get some of the same options that we've seen, and start recording, record again. I guess those are pretty self-explanatory. You're going to get them on your own. And over here we got some interesting options. You can clear all of the actions or reset them to the default ones, and you can load some actions. So one interesting thing you can do is if you go on Google and search for actions, you're going to find a lot of actions online. So you can just download them and you go to load actions. And you can actually load an action set, and as you can see over here, I have actually downloaded this action set, and it ends in a .atn file extension. So if I just click on it and select load, it's just going to load this action set over here, and I can just go ahead and run one of these actions. And it's quite interesting to do because most tutorials on the internet might include an action set that you can just go ahead and run on your images, so you're not going to be spending any time trying to repeat all of the steps. And over here you can actually save your own actions, and if we just clicked on that, we could just create a .atn file and just share it with somebody else, so just keep it on our computer in case we reinstall Photoshop and we want our actions back. So that's the idea behind it. And over here you get some action sets that are actually coming with by default with Photoshop, and if we just click on one of them, they're just going to load the action set over here. And as you can see, it loaded the production action set, as it's called, and you can just go ahead and try using one of those different actions. It's just not owned by default, but you can just load it from this menu. So you can try that. And let's just go ahead and click on the trash icon to delete it, just because we don't need it, and click OK. Now, one thing you might want to do with your actions is basically run them on a lot of images together. You don't want to go in each image and start playing the action again and again and again, and opening an image and running the action, opening the image and running the action. That's just going to take too much time. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create an automated version of actions. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to run the actions on a folder of images. So let's just try that. First, I'm going to deselect this levels action. We don't want this to run in this case. And I'm just going to close all of the files that I have opened. Close all. Nope. I don't want to save anything. And let's just go on File, Automate, and Batch. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to take one of these actions and we're going to run it on a folder of images. So let's just select the action we want to apply. And that's in the set I actions, and that's black and white. And as you can see, I have opened the folder that I'm going to take the images from, and this is the final folder, and as you can see, it's empty. So let's just go in the final folder and see the results. Now, the first thing you get over here is the source, and it could be the open files or it could be a folder of images. So let's just select a folder of images, and you can choose a folder over here, and I have selected my folder. Let's just click OK. Now you get some simple options over here. You can try checking them on and off. And over here you get your destination, and basically you can set that to non-destination, and they're just going to stick in the Photoshop work area. They're not going to be saved at all. You can actually save them and close them at the same location, or select a folder to output your results. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's just select the folder that we're going to output the results on. Final, and that's OK. Now remember, you have to check this option. Now what we did is we actually saved our image on a certain location, and it's just going to use that if we don't override the save as command. And remember, that's why we selected the save as command from the file menu, because we want to override it. So remember to actually keep an eye every time you go on this batch panel, because you can mess things up if you don't. You can just save the images at the same location and lose all of your data. So you don't want to do that. You usually want to have the override action save as command, or this thing over here, you want to have it checked, because what that's going to do is it's just going to override the save as command that we have right here. And over here you get a lot of options on the image's name, and that's pretty much the default name, that the name that the image had already. So you can just go ahead and select one different option, and you can set the names of the output files. And I guess we're pretty much ready right now. If we just click OK, it's just gonna run all of those actions on the images. And the idea behind actions, let me talk a little bit about them because that's going to take a little while, is that you can actually perform an action on an image, and that's just going to save you a whole lot of time. If you have done an editing on an image that you actually want to re-perform, you can create an action and just perform this on any image. And let me tell you one last thing before we go and see the final result, and that is, if you had some history over here on some image, you couldn't turn that into an action. You first have to record, and then whatever you do is going to be recorded into the action. You can't just take the history and create an action out of it. You have to record while you're doing everything. So that's the idea behind it. And let's just go in our final folder. And as you can see, the final folder, and it was empty before, but now we get all of those images that just look like what we wanted them to look. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.